In a bustling town, there lived a merchant with his wife and two sons. The elder son was shy, quiet, and always hesitant to engage with others. In stark contrast, the younger son was lively, confident, and easily left a good impression on everyone. Because of his timid nature, the elder son was often misunderstood as unintelligent. Some people even took advantage of his gentleness and silence. Yet he never complained. He simply endured in silence. His father, a stern and hardened man, was often angry at his son's weakness. His harsh words only made the boy retreat further into himself. Over time, his shyness and lack of confidence severely affected his studies. During exams, he couldn't recall his lessons, and fear made his hands tremble and heart pound every time he picked up a pen. As he grew up, his father assigned him to help at the family's salt shop. Though filled with anxiety, he tried his best not to disappoint his father. However, his lack of confidence led to mistakes. One day, some swindlers came to the shop and falsely claimed that his father had sent them to collect the salt. Terrified, he didn't dare question them. The goods were taken away entirely. When the father returned and saw the empty store, he was furious and drove his son out of the house. As the boy grew into a young man, his insecurity continued to be a major obstacle. Even when he had studied, his mind would go blank from anxiety during exams. Clear answers vanished under the weight of fear. His studies suffered more and more, deepening his self-doubt. When he reached adulthood, his father asked him to help with the family's salt business. Not wanting to upset his father again, he agreed, despite his inner turmoil. But stress caused frequent mistakes, which only fueled his father's anger and scolding. Then one day, while his father was away, a few strange men came to the shop and claimed they were sent by the owner to collect all the salt for delivery to the city. Too scared to question them, the young man let them take everything. When his father returned and found the shop empty, he exploded in rage. "You fool! You let them take everything! You've ruined me! Get out of my sight and never come back!" He roared, furious and hopeless. Driven away, the young man fell into despair and sorrow. Facing the villagers, scorn, his father's disappointment, and his own crushing sense of failure, he felt completely worthless. Wandering to the riverside, his heart was heavy with dark thoughts. What's the point of living? I'm just a failure, he thought, and prepared to end his life by plunging into the cold river. Just as he was about to jump, a young disciple happened to pass by. Seeing the scene, the disciple ran to him and pulled him back, saving him from a tragic decision. In anger and despair, the young man shouted, "Why did you save me? My life is worthless. I can't do anything right." The disciple looked at him calmly and said, "Life is only given once. As long as you're alive, you still have the chance to change. If you give up now, you'll never know what you might be capable of." The young man fell silent. After a while, he said, "I'm shy, weak. My father hates me. I have no education. Everyone looks down on me. Someone like me, do I even deserve to live?" The disciple smiled and gently said, "Come with me. My master can help you find the answer." At first hesitant, the young man finally agreed and followed the disciple to the sage's monastery. Under a large tree, the sage sat in meditation. When they approached, the young man burst into tears. The sage opened his eyes and asked in a calm voice, "Why are you crying?" Choking on his words, the young man said, "You are my last hope. If even you can't help me, I will end my life." The sage gently asked him to share all his sorrows. After listening, the sage said, "I have a way, but first you must follow my instructions for 3 days. If you do, I promise your life will change." A glimmer of hope lit up in the young man's eyes. He nodded. That was the beginning of a journey to change his destiny, with just 3 days of trials that would open the door to a brand new life. On the first day, the sage gave the young man a seemingly simple task. Today, go and speak to 10 strangers, ask about their lives, and write down their answers. The young man hesitated, heart pounding with fear, but the sage's promise and hopeful eyes gave him strength. He took a deep breath and stepped outside. At first, many ignored him. Some were annoyed, some laughed at him, but he didn't give up. Gradually, a few people stopped to listen and answer. By sunset, he had completed the task. He had spoken to 10 strangers and even made a few friends. He returned to the monastery with shining eyes. "I did it," he told the sage. The sage smiled. Well done. Tomorrow's challenge will be harder. On the second day, the sage said, Today, you will teach 10 children about the importance of water. The young man panicked. But I have no education. How can I teach anyone? The sage gently replied, The children don't know that you think you're not good enough. Just share what you already know. Trembling, the young man entered the class. Sweat dripped from his forehead, and his hands shook as he began to speak, but slowly his words came out. He spoke about 5 benefits of water: drinking, cooking, bathing, watering plants, and cleaning. Then he rushed outside, but when he returned, the sage said, Try again. The second time, he stood more firmly. His voice was clearer. By the end, he realized he was no longer afraid. The sage smiled. See? Courage has always been inside you. You just needed to step out of your comfort zone to find it. 2 days passed, and the young man began to realize, fear isn't truth. It's just a feeling, and feelings can change. On the third day, the final challenge, the sage gave him a task that made his heart sink. Today, you must face your father and ask for his forgiveness. He froze. No, I can't do that. He'll never forgive me. I can't face him. The sage looked at him seriously. If you refuse this task, I cannot give you the final key to success. Seeing the sage's firm gaze, the young man understood this was the final step to free himself from long-held shame. He nodded, trembling. With heavy steps, he returned home after many days. As he entered the familiar house, his heart beat wildly. He bowed his head, eyes brimming with tears. Father, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance. I want to prove I can do it. His father looked at him for a long while. Surprise appeared in his eyes, then emotion. He saw a change in his son's gaze and posture. No longer the timid boy of the past, but a man ready to take responsibility. Finally, he gently said, I forgive you. Let's try again. The young man burst into tears of joy. Forgiveness was not only a relief, it was the beginning of a new journey. He returned to the sage, eager to hear the secret to success. The sage smiled kindly. You no longer need me to say it. You've already discovered the greatest secret. Your real enemy was never shyness. It was fear. When you chose to act despite being afraid, you conquered yourself. The young man bowed deeply, filled with gratitude. He knew he would no longer let fear define who he was. And from that moment on, a new life began, steadfast, confident, and full of hope. When he returned to the sage, his eyes sparkled more brightly than ever. After 3 days of challenges from a fearful, timid boy, he had learned to face life with courage and purpose. He bowed before the sage and asked, Master, please tell me the success secret you promised. The sage smiled warmly, his eyes glowing with pride. My son, you've already found it. The greatest secret isn't far away. It is belief in yourself. All this time, you thought you were weak, unworthy, not good enough. But the truth is, you let fear control your life. When you dared to step out of your comfort zone, dared to speak to strangers, dared to stand before a crowd, dared to return and face your father, you defeated that fear. The young man was silent. The sage's words flowed into his soul like cool water onto parched earth. I understand now. It's not that I couldn't do it. I just never believed I could. From now on, I won't let fear control my life. The sage nodded. Remember, the world sees you the way you present yourself. Even if you still feel afraid inside, walk as if you're confident. In time, you'll become just that. True strength comes from choosing to believe in yourself. From that day on, the young man began a new journey. With renewed determination and faith, he returned to work with his father, learning and improving himself each day. Years later, he became a successful merchant, admired for his confidence, wisdom, and kindness. His story proves that confidence isn't something we're born with. It is built through courage, practice, and self-belief. Just dare to take the first step, and you will discover strength you never knew you had.